Welcome to Embrace Yourself. My name is Kim, and I'm a movement specialist passionate about joy, health, and happiness. I want each of us to discover our healthiest, happiest selves. But to do that, we have to get up and move. Today, I'd like to demonstrate a series of foam rolling exercises for the upper back as well as the low QLs, known as our love handles. Now, for those of you that have been subscribed from the get-go, you know that I did this very early on in the year. But that was before I had a microphone. And who knew how important it was to hear my verbal cues? So I'm going back through the series so that we make sure we know exactly how to foam roll the upper back, that low back on the side, as well as our arms. Let's get started. I'm going to use a foam roller, and I'm placing it perpendicular to my body. Now, when we do the foam roller, there are two areas of the body that I don't roll with the foam roller. I use other tools, and that would be my neck and my low back down at that lumbar spine. It's just not comfortable. I see a ton of people doing it at the gym, but we don't have the same amount of musculature right around those discs, and I feel like it compromises them. Instead, what I want you to do is start at your upper shoulder. And I like to interlace my hands and place them behind my head so that I have plenty of support for my head and neck. I'm allowing them to relax, and I'm just cradling my head with my hands. I come to the top of the shoulders and I lift my hips up. For me, I'm able to do this without any pain. But if this feels really tight and restricted and you're saying, there is no way I'm lifting my hips, Kim, go ahead and keep them down, and that's fine. From here, I want to slowly start to roll down my scapula, and I'm going to that point where all of a sudden it feels like it might be a little too low. I want to be right around the base of my rib cage and then work my way back up. There is something known as your floating ribs. I don't like to roll the floating ribs, so I want to stay just above. I think about maybe where a heart rate monitor line would be, where I'd place my heart rate monitor. That's about as low as I go. And then I work my way back up towards the top. Now, if I find any point of pain, I just hold where I find that point of pain and I breathe into that restriction and focus on exhaling and releasing it. Once I've done my scapula from top down to that mid-rib range, I want to go ahead and do my subscap. So I'm going to roll my body, and I'm turning away for a moment so you can see. I roll just to the side. I'm not all the way on the side, but I'm about 45 degrees off. I've lifted that opposite shoulder off of the foam roller, and I just roll again from the top of the shoulders down to about that mid-rib cage. And you'll notice this tends to be much more sensitive and much more painful for people. So any point of pain that I find, I want to hold for about 90 seconds, maybe 3 to 5 minutes even, depending. More time under tension allows that restriction to release, but I know for many of us, we don't have that kind of time. So as long as I'm getting a minute to 90 seconds holding and breathing, you are going to be shocked at the difference this makes over time. This is a series, honestly, you could do every single day because we sit rounded forward in flexion every single day. So this is my chance to release those muscles. So I've gone upper back and I've done my two sides. From here, I can roll a little bit higher and come onto the back of that arm, and I can work into that tricep. This is wonderful for people that have a lot of restriction here. But if it's not comfortable, again, there are other tools we can use. And then I just roll a little bit further down, so I'm getting all along the back of that arm. Whatever I do on one arm, I need to do on the other. So I flip that roller around and I start stacked. You can also place a hand behind your head just to make sure that you're supported. But I'm really digging in here and I'm just noticing where there might be any tightness or any restriction. This is so great since these muscles are constantly stretched, rounded over a computer or over books. Then I want to move towards my QL, lower spine. But again, remember, I'm not going to roll the center of my back on the roller. Instead, I'm going to turn slightly to the side. So I'm at a 45-degree angle, and my discs in the vertebra are not on the roller. And then I roll from here all the way down to my hips, and I come back up towards that rib cage. So I just roll from the glutes all the way until I hit about that floating rib where I say, I don't want to go any further, and I pause. And I'm holding on any point of pain. This typically is much more tender for people, so take note. Just so you can see from the other angle, again, I'm not all the way on my side. I'm slightly tilted about 45 degrees, and I roll, and I work my way down that roller towards the hip, and I come back up along that QL, our quadratus laborum. And the reason this muscle tends to be much more sensitive is because it's the muscle that's responsible for flexion of the spine, extension of the spine, and rotation of the spine. So it is a major player in our movement, and it's also a big reason that people experience back pain. Finally, there's one other exercise you can do to roll your oblique muscles. Now, for me, I don't have a lot of torso. I have a lot of leg. So this exercise doesn't work as well for me. Instead, I use a different tool to hit my obliques. But for those of you that have that gorgeous length in your torso, you can start at the top of the hip, lay directly over the roller, and work your way down to wherever it feels comfortable and back up. Ideally, you're trying to stay below that floating rib. What happens for me, because I don't have a torso, I feel like that foam roller is jamming into my ribs, and this is not a comfortable fascial release. So make sure you're listening to your body as you do this. You'll be able to tell the difference between something that feels like a good sort of pain in the sense that it wants to release and it wants to let go, versus something that feels like this tool just isn't working for my body. That's why there is no one perfect tool for every person and no one perfect tool for every fascial release. That's your upper body foam roller series for today. I am so thankful that you joined, and I really hope that you wouldn't mind subscribing to my YouTube channel, as well as dinging the bell so you're notified of upcoming videos. Any likes, questions, or comments that you have, please be sure to include them in the link below, and I'll be sure to respond. In addition, if you don't have a foam roller, I have included a link below so that you can order one for yourself. This is such a fantastic tool, and I promise you're going to get hooked on it. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll be sure to see you tomorrow.